Hi, everybody, and welcome to another installment of Align's Daily Dose of Advice, our way of bringing you valuable insights and thought leadership from experts from around the world on various topics that will hopefully help you and your organization. My name is Eugene Turk. I'm the Vice President of Business Development at Align. If you'd like to learn more about Align, you can always check us out at aligntoday.com. My guest today is Mary Byers. Mary is a certified association executive, and for the past 20 plus years, she has helped associations remain relevant in an increasingly competitive environment. She's the author of Race for Relevance, 5 Radical Changes for Associations, and a follow-up book entitled Road to Relevance, 5 Strategies for Competitive Associations. She has worked with a wide variety of associations, both individual membership and trade groups, and helps volunteer leaders and staff alike create a viable and sustainable future. Mary, it's always a pleasure to see you, and thank you for joining us.
Oh, Eugene, I'm happy to have the chance. I've been listening to these daily doses and such wisdom, such smartness. And anybody that's listening for the first time, if you haven't listened to them, I would urge you to go back and listen to them because I'm getting smarter because of the work you're doing, Eugene. So
Oh,
thank you for
thank
that.
you very much. That's very kind of you to say. All of that wisdom is not coming from me. It's all from our guests. So Mary, I know that you, in the work that you do, you have a concept or an exercise that you use with clients called pivot points. And we are going to make available in conjunction with this specific daily dose, a worksheet that you use when you do that exercise with your clients. And so I was hoping that we could discuss that in greater detail today. So to start, can you just give us a quick summary of the pivot points exercise and what wisdom can individuals gain from going through this exercise?
A pivot is a change in policy, position, or strategy. And usually when I do this exercise, I work with leaders and staff members to take a look back at where their main and major pivots have occurred and what they've been able to learn from them. But it occurred to me, as so many people are pivoting on a very, very regular basis, that there was an application here so that we could do some real time learning, not only about the pivots our companies are making, but about the pivots we're making individually and what we can learn from them. So I've actually taken it from a look back to a let's learn from what's happening now.
Okay. And so what kinds of things do people learn when they sort of do that analysis? Not only just looking back, but what can we learn from the now as part of this pivot point exercise?
I'll give you an example of a couple of the things that I've learned about myself when I've done this, and then I'll share a couple of things that clients have learned as well. In looking back over the pivots that I've made throughout my career, one of the things I realized about myself is that I often have my foot on the brake and the gas pedal at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And it drives me nuts about myself. But what that led me to realize is that once I make a decision, I very often, very infrequently go back and second guess because I've been deliberate and intentional. And once I make the decision, I make it and I move forward with a lot of energy and enthusiasm. The other thing that I've learned is often when I make a pivot or I've made a major change, I find I wish I would have done it sooner.
Yeah.
The final thing that I've learned is that nearly 100% of the pivots that I've made have exceeded my expectations in the long run. And they've all taken me wonderful places that I never expected to go. So now that I have that framework, when I personally or my company is facing a pivot, I know that I'm going to be slow to make the decision, but that in all likelihood, I'm not going to regret it, and that there's going to be great things on the other side of it. So that has become a helpful filter and framework for me personally as I work in my own business, but also with clients. Some of the knowledge that has come from my clients are things like it's easier to get things done when we have the full support of the board. So as you mentioned, I work with associations. So when staff knows that they have the full support of the board and the board is going to adequately finance and resource pivots,
Hmm.
they're easier to accomplish and they can be done more quickly. Other ideas and things that clients have learned is that pivots are more easy when they're prioritized. And I think this is really important right now in this current climate. When we try to make everything important, or when we try to get a lot of things done, sometimes nothing is important and nothing gets done.
Right.
So if we can practice focus pocus and focus on what matters most, we're going to be better off in the long run. And the last example I have of what clients have learned is that being able to pivot actually increases our flexibility, both as a company and as employees. And the more you do it, the stronger that muscle gets. So this pivoting that we're all doing now is actually strengthening our resilience, and it's actually positioning us well for the future.
Obviously, right now, there's a lot of organizations, a lot of companies that are evaluating whether to pivot or how to pivot or what direction to pivot. So how can going through the exercise sort of be valuable in helping us answer some of those questions, particularly in real time?
So this is where a look back. So the worksheet that you're sharing has an opportunity for people to fill out some fill in the blanks. And the first series is, when we did X, this happened.
Hmm.
So individually, we can look back, and then company-wide, we can look back. When this happened, then this happened. And there's blanks for about 5 of those. So I asked people to identify 5 pivots or changes that they made, or it can even be a decision that was made in the past. And then you go through a series of questions asking, was it a positive outcome or a negative outcome? Was it an evolutionary change or a revolutionary change? Once you identify that, then you can start the learning or the knowledge, um, pulling knowledge out of the exercise. And that knowledge then will tell you, where were the obstacles? What did you do to get over those obstacles? What can we learn from how we've had to pivot in the past that will be helpful for us going forward? And I think that taking a look back will actually help us move forward more quickly and more effectively. One of the things that I like to say is, the more time we spend on the front end, the less time it's going to take on the back end. So collectively, if we can just take some time to identify what helped us do this well in the past, we can harness that so that it will help us do it well now.
Yeah, you talk about, learning from going through this exercise, and so and perhaps being more efficient or more knowledgeable with the wisdom and guidance of having done this in the past. What's sort of the most important aspect that an organization or a company can learn from a pivot, whether it was one that was years ago or as they're going through one right now?
You want to look at what helped you create leverage and momentum in a project, in a strategy. And once you do that, then you can ask, how can we apply this knowledge to today? So it may be identifying obstacles. It may be identifying new resources that you need or that you capitalized on in the past that you can reach out to again. It could be relationships. I think collaboration is the new currency,
Yeah.
and not only for associations, but for companies. And this has all accelerated our need to collaborate. We can go further faster with partners than we can alone. So these are the kinds of things that we want to really take a close look at, again, so that we can create leverage and momentum, because that's really what this exercise is ultimately about.
And so the teams that are actually going through this exercise and learning a lot from it, what are you noticing about those teams that are sort of most successfully managing the pivot process?
They're getting very clear on what they should be focused on now. They are putting a pause to some things that maybe aren't as important,
Right.
and they are letting some nice to do things fall by the wayside. And later they will go back and decide if they're letting them fall by the wayside forever or just for now. But I think the main thing that's coming out of this is a high level of clarity. And that clarity then leads to focus. And what we focus on expands.
Mary, the question that I ask everyone that comes on the Daily Dose of Advice, what is the number one piece of advice that you are giving your coaching clients right now?
It's actually twofold, so I'm going to cheat just a little
That's
bit.
okay.
The
That's all right.
most important thing is be sensitive to what's going on. We're doing our work, but the front lines are serving in just really, as we've said many times, unprecedented times, and people are losing their lives. And I think we need to be mindful of that.
Mhm.
I think we also need to be asking, as you're being sensitive to what's going on, I think we all personally and professionally should be asking, what is it that we are uniquely positioned to do? And then we should go do it to the very best of our ability.
Yeah, it's great advice. Mary, always a pleasure. Thank you for joining us and sharing some of your thoughts and your wisdom. If anyone would like to learn more about Mary or have any questions about the pivot point exercise and the worksheet that you can download from our website, you can check out Mary Byers, that's BYERS.com. Again, if you'd like to learn more about Align, please check out aligntoday.com. And we hope that you will join us on our next daily dose of advice. Till then, thank you so much, and we hope you make it a great day.